It's the Kyle Heimann Show on Redeemer Radio.
This is Kyle Heimann here with our executive director here at Redeemer Radio, Cindy Black, for Theology of the Body Thursday. Thanks for being here, Cindy.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Last week, we talked about all the different things that theology of the body helps us to understand better. And I mean, really, the idea that we have bodies affects so many other things in our lives, and how it seems like we could tie almost anything into the theology of the body. And so that became the question of, can you stump Cindy with something that does not? We invite people, they could submit their own things and see, how does this tie in to theology of the body? And so now we've got this list of things here, and we're going to see if you can tie these things into theology of the body. This might just be kind of fun and frivolous, but I have a feeling there might be some deeper things that we can pull out of this. So are you ready for it?
I guess as ready as I'll ever be. Let me take a sip of coffee.
All right. So the first one we have here is haircuts. How does haircuts tie into theology of the body?
Well, I think because we usually make a decision about our haircuts, I think it does reveal something about who we are as people, the choices that we make about how we're going to do our hair. I actually was somewhere recently where there was somebody in front of me in line who was thin, had a long, really shiny ponytail, and the dissonance when he turned his face and I saw that it was a man, because all the while I thought this was a young woman in front of me. But when I used to teach in college, my students would say that, you shouldn't make judgments about people if they have different color hair or, things like that. And I'm like, then why did you decide to change your color of your hair if you didn't want it to make an impact?
Yeah, it was a choice that somebody made and a way of expressing.
Right. So I think that it can reveal something about the person. We have to take care in making sure that we don't make a lot of assumptions, understand that we are making assumptions.
Yeah.
So I think it can tell us a little bit about the person, and that's what the theology of the body is, that the body reveals an inner reality.
Do you ever wonder, why God makes certain things? Like, why does hair grow in some places and not others? And why?
I wonder that stuff all the time.
Different colors of hair and balding and all kinds of funny things. All right. Next thing, how do we tie this into the theology of the body? The change of seasons. So your summer, fall, winter, spring.
I would say regeneration. I mean, the seasons are about regeneration and bringing forth new life. And then actually I heard Janet Smith give a talk one time on the theology of the aging body. And that was really interesting. She was caring for her mother as she aged and really talking about. That might be a topic for a future show.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get Janet Smith on to talk about it.
Yeah. Are you saying that the purpose of our body and somehow the theology attached to that changes over time? Or the underlying theology stays the same, but some of our roles change throughout time?
Well, the body has meaning, and that doesn't change. But as our bodies change, our relationships around our bodies change. So in the case of Janet Smith, she talks about taking care of her mother who once took care of her, and that kind of switching of roles. That self-gift has changed through the years and things like that. So I think that's an interesting concept, that maybe now the elderly body isn't self-gift in as many physical ways, but they are still gift in spiritual ways, and they still have the value and meaning that somebody else has. It helps us to stay away from that utilitarian kind of view of the person.
All right. Well, how do my pets tie in with theology of the body?
Well, when I teach younger people about theology of the body, I do talk about how the human person is unique, and we talk about the spiritual dimension and the material dimension, and pets are definitely part of that material created world, the visible world, because they have bodies, but they do not, while they do have a soul of sorts, that's what identifies them, as a dog and things like that, it's not an immortal soul. It's not the same as the human person. The human person is made in the image and likeness of God, whereas animals, our pets, are not.
All right, good distinction. Windows in a house.
Hopefully not my windows because they're dirty.
Maybe that could be part
There
of
we
it.
go. Well, they say that your eyes are windows to the soul. And we have talked about that several times in our Theology of the Body discussion, being present to one another as self-gift and really looking in someone's eyes, seeing their worth, seeing their dignity. So that kind of ties into windows.
Okay. We're playing Stump Cindy here on Theology of the Body Thursday, seeing how these different things might have a direct or indirect relation to theology of the body, I guess. The Mona Lisa.
The Mona Lisa.
The painting.
Well, male and female, he created them, I would say. But I think just the notion of being creative to begin with, to draw on,
Sure.
your brother Corey Heimann's book, that notion of, for the human person is beautiful. And the culture has a certain definition or parameters that we would identify somebody as attractive or beautiful. But really every person, no matter what their physical characteristics look like, they're beautiful because they have infinite worth. But I think that creative nature that God creates the human person in his image and likeness, and then we are called to be co-creators with him in the work that we do, including beauty, like paintings and things like that, and then also with bringing forth new life.
All right. The next one is lemonade drink mix, and then in parentheses it says the powder, like the powder.
The powder
lemonade.
that never mixes in, and you have lumps of.
That's true.
Okay, this one's got me stumped. Let's see.
I guess you mix it together. They I guess maybe individually. You don't want to just have the powder by itself. They need each other.
They need each other. Okay,
Is that a stretch?
let's go with that because I have nothing better.
A kaleidoscope.
Oh my goodness, I used to collect kaleidoscopes.
Did you?
I did. I even
thinking,
had
when's
some
the
that
last
were
time
like
I've seen a
jewelry.
kaleidoscope?
Yeah, I had like a little necklace that was a tiny kaleidoscope. Yeah, I think that ties in because the thing about a kaleidoscope is it has all these little things in it that wouldn't necessarily look beautiful until you view them all together and they shift. And so I guess looking at the beauty of the human person and creation and all the different dimensions. Yeah, and actually right now I'm thinking about one of my friend's daughters takes beautiful pictures and posts them on Facebook of places all over. And it kind of reminds me of a kaleidoscope because the colors are so vibrant. So I think just like we can be in awe looking at the beautiful colors in the kaleidoscope, we can be in awe of creation and what God, the things that he created are to point the human person to his divine goodness.
All right, good. What about raisins? What do raisins have to do with theology of the body?
My skin, raisins are a lot like my skin is becoming. Raisins. Yeah, I think that's another thing just to look at the progression, that raisins start as in one form. And then with time, they still have the same makeup, but then they're, I don't know. I guess they don't because
A different state of life.
Yeah, different. There we go. Okay.
What about sharks? Can you tie the idea of sharks into theology of the body?
Ooh, well, sharks are dangerous to be around. Like you don't want to be in close proximity with a hungry shark.
Mm-hmm.
Similarly, you don't want to be in the near occasion of sin. So I think knowing our weaknesses and, if we want to live the truth of our bodies and the reality of the human person, the gift of our sexuality, then watching our environment and making sure there's not dangers, we're not getting too close to dangers is good.
I like that. Theology of the shark.
There we go. That might be another.
Resisting temptation. What about a windmill? What does a windmill have to do with theology of the body?
Well, windmills actually take wind and they transform it into another form of energy?
Yeah, like electricity.
Right,
yeah.
Huh. There's got to be some
So
really
I guess,
good times.
yeah, they take nature, they take God's gifts
And
and turn it into
participate.
something
There we go.
usable, into power.
There we go. There we go. Good job, Kyle.
Until you started to say it. What about Bob Ross? What does Bob Ross, the famous PBS painter, have to do with theology of the body?
I can just see the hair. That's all.
Glorious
Yeah.
hair and beard. Yeah. Is that it? He just has,
Pass. Again, it goes back to the creative nature, kind of like the Mona Lisa, that we can learn from one another, because I think a lot of people learned and were inspired.
Very good teacher.
So he modeled his creative, genius. And
you know
we
what?
can do that.
He would always, wasn't he something about mistakes? Like there's not mistakes. There's just happy.
I have never watched
happy accidents, and they would change it. Like if you messed up on something, like that just becomes a path.
There you go.
And like just morph that into the next improvement of the painting or something like that.
I have actually never watched Bob Ross.
Oh, therapy. He's like it's so calm and soothing. The number 14. This is pretty random.
Who came up with it?
What does the number 14 have to do with theology of the body?
Well, St. John Paul II delivered certain audiences. Every Wednesday, several of them had to fall on the 14th of the month.
Right.
There was a 14th talk that he delivered.
Right.
If I had some time, I could look up
that would be
which
interesting,
those were and tie them in. Yeah.
It's kind of like theology of the body roulette, where you just like
Right,
pick
there
a
you
random audience number. Okay, a keyboard specifically for a computer. So not a piano keyboard, but a computer keyboard.
Okay, I'm going to stretch this.
Uh-huh.
Because actually, just before we went on air, I was sitting at my desk. My computer wasn't working. Anything I was trying to get it to do, I was trying to put an attachment on an email to send to somebody, and it wasn't working. And I didn't have my mouse plugged in. I have a wired mouse. I didn't have it plugged in. So I'm going to take the keyboard and stretch it to the computer, like to the mouse on the computer. Yeah. And we have to have that connection with God to become who we're created to be.
Yeah.
That without realizing, that that's our destiny. That's why we exist, is to be in relationship with God. No matter how meaningful our other relationships are or our work are, it's going to be lacking unless we're connected to our Creator.
That's good, yeah. It doesn't fulfill its purpose when the keyboard is unplugged.
Right, exactly.
From the brain, from the computer. I like it. All right, maybe one more here. Let's take a look at black jelly beans. With several other things here, but we'll have to...
When I was little, I hated black jelly beans, and now I really like them. So maybe our tastes change, and that when we learn the meaning of our bodies, it becomes a sweetness instead of the rules of the church being something distasteful that we just follow, that we can learn to love it because we understand what we're created for.
I like it. Well, thank you, Cindy. This has been a fun little experiment on Stump Cindy for Theology of the Body Thursday.
Thank you.